Niagara is going to be attempting to take their first map of the season. So as you can see here, we're just about to get in to the pistol round. Nothing too crazy out of what you expect to see from these setups, and lots of opportunities for a lot of crazy things to happen, as both of these teams have been known to do some interesting strategies in the first side. But Siena is looking for just a straight B split with 3 members of the Niagara team over, ready and waiting for them to try to get something out in some sort of staunch defense. So Loki comes up, takes out the first kill, and makes life very uncomfortable for the Niagara team already. General Kenobi coming back with that first kill as the bomb goes down on site, and the T's will set up for their post plant. General Kenobi still in water, unfortunately goes down to chewy milk, which means that Niagara is short somebody on site to take that back. As they continue to defend on that, the Bills continue to go in favor of the team. It's Swordbird with a huge 3K. Makes this a one-on-one with just Wizark remaining. And is he going to be able to get the kill? Oh, the one-on-one, just so many missed bullets, but it doesn't matter because if Siena can just pull out more time. Oh, what a heartbreaking loss for Niagara after such a huge play from Swordbird, taking on what could have been a quad kill, but unfortunately falling in the 1v1, giving Siena the first round. And immediately they're going to go into that standard first round buy with an AK, or excuse me, a Galil and a couple SMGs. It looks like a late buyout from OCU, so there were probably going to be a little bit of delay, but it looks like they're going back towards that B site, and why not? They just had a lot of great success there, and now they've got a lot more weapons. So Niagara choosing not to invest anything into this second round will probably not be able to put up much of a defense, and there's quick work made of it by the Siena team, managing to not lose a single member, but coming pretty close on both Pango and Wizark with just a couple HP left at the end of the round. So that strategy is going to allow Niagara to buy up into the third round. You see plenty of M4A1Ss out for everybody on that team, with a pretty good amount of utility to deal with some of the aggression that we've seen so far from Siena. And now moving off of their SMG second round buys, buying a couple more of the rifles. They're going to move more towards that mid bathroom site and push a little bit towards long, where we're going to see how the efforts of Fechner and Swordbird ultimately play out to keep them off the A site, but it doesn't look like they have anyone positioned to defend long. So if Siena continues at this speed, they're not going to run into any resistance on site, and instead are going to be fighting from the bathroom side, which is not where Niagara wants to be as they start off this site defense. Pango able to take down Fechner is going to make this 1v1, but Swordburn coming back, continuing that MVP, able to take out 2 and give ultimately the side advantage to Niagara, but unfortunately so many kills trading so fast, it's hard to keep track. But Wizark now on his own in a very difficult situation, having to deal with 2 players on the Niagara side with full health, and the bomb is down in front of bathrooms, which means that not only does he have to make sure that he can get both of these kills, but he also has to do that with less than 40 seconds on the clock. So Wizark has been a player that's done some pretty good work for Siena in this past, and certainly the way that Niagara is set up does allow for a potential 1v1 setup that's going to make this a little bit more promising, but it looks like Niagara is unaware of where the bomb is, or are assuming that there's going to be a rotation, and that is a huge mistake. Wizark is just going to be able to walk on site without any resistance and get this first plant. Of course, now that the Niagara is caught on to where that is, they'll be able to take that out, and Flux makes that very easy clutch. So positives from that, Niagara is able to win their first rifle rounds. They maintain 2 of those M4s, and Siena not a lot of economic damage because they got plenty from those first couple of rounds, and they're going to buy immediately back, as you can see in this. So their first attempts on a little bit of confusion at the end there, but ultimately a great round from Niagara to make sure that they maintain that advantage going forward. Unfortunately, because of the economic situations and not being able to maintain, they are going to have 2 SMGs out there, which is going to give them a disadvantage against those AKs at range. But this is a map that gives you a lot of really close-up angles where those MP9s especially can be particularly devastating. So choosing to play 3 people in water might not work out so much in Niagara's favor, but as Siena is already starting to move on the site, they're going to see Broff take down the first kill in OCU, immediately traded by Pango onto Fechner, and the kills are going in favor of Siena as they now have 2 down with just General Kenobi left in water to try to make something out of the situation. Flux able to take out Wizard, low-key on the Flux. Swordbird takes out the double kill, and this has been Swordbird's game for sure. He has gotten the majority of kills on the side of Niagara by far and has made a very convincing effort over the last couple. Unfortunately, Pango able to take down Ken, and now it's just Swordbird versus Pango as they try to make sure that the end of this round goes in favor of the Niagara team. Pango looking for that peek from short. Is he going to notice? Yes, Pango able to take down Swordbird with a couple shots to the head and bring Siena right back into the driver's seat. So as we go into this next round, unfortunately, Niagara, after those first couple of that first win, and relative economic austerity, is forced back into this situation where they're going to have the one rifle on Broff, who had the most cash, but unfortunately his teammates won't be able to buy much else up to surround that. So this is probably going to be a round that goes in favor of Siena if we're looking at just basic things there, and Loki is certainly making that statement by taking off Fechner's head at the beginning, and already making the numbers further in favor of the Siena team as they work through that bathrooms area towards the A site, where we'll probably see that execution happening. Swordbird sitting on the truck, who's been that carry for Niagara so far with the Deagle, can certainly be dangerous, and he takes that first hit, able to take out Pango, get a little bit of revenge for that last round. Stands up on Dumpster looking for some of those nades. It's not hit him, and he's going to lose his life, unfortunately, to Chewy, who's able to take them down. And now the 3 players left on the Niagara side includes that M4, so depending on what happens here, they may have the opportunity to come in and try to get something done, but it seems like quite the battle to fight because of the both gun and numbers advantage of Siena. And when you're dealing with USPs, sometimes it works, and sometimes you get taken out by Loki. Unfortunately for Niagara, they're just going to have to save this. Kind of expected, as we talked about in the beginning, with all of the pistols on the side of Niagara. So Broff is now going to desperately try to hold on to that M4 to make sure that the rest of the team, as they get into the next round, has the best advantage or best possible opportunity to come back into that. Siena, on their 4th round win now, is going to go into round 6, hoping to just continue to pound away these rounds and make it as difficult as possible for Niagara to even think about coming back. But in the early rounds, you're dealing with a lot of economic disparity, so Niagara certainly has the opportunity, as we saw from their first gun round, to make the same sort of statement here. So we see Siena returning towards that A site. They like that aggression. Niagara able to get a little bit of that early information, knowing that there's at least a presence towards Fountain, and saw quite a few members. So they're going to play this, and it's Chewy. Oh, great time nade from Swordbird there to make sure that the connector area is mollied off to take off just one more angle of advantage and give the opportunity for Niagara to continue to, hold this position in the way that they want to. This crossfire up towards the bathroom area is going to give them the opportunity to maybe see what's going to happen. Loki not able to get that. Unfortunately, Fechner sees 2 people in his crosshairs, gets a little bit split up there, and isn't ultimately able to close on that. Swordbird, who's been so strong over these last couple of rounds, unfortunately not able to take down anyways. So Niagara is looking at a potential retake situation with 3 players and just a little bit lower health on the side of Siena. Not a lot that's going to make this an easy take. Roth takes a dink to the head, which means that they're dealing with significantly more, but General Kenobi coming out of bathrooms, able to pick up Pango, who wasn't expecting that, almost takes down Chewy, and then we get these kills just trading so quickly as Niagara tries desperately to bring this back round. Roth able to take somebody down, so that means that we've got Chewy with 8 health and Wizard with 100, but Wizard has the scout, not the op, so that might actually work out in their favor. Fortunately, not checking their corners means that Broff is going to go down, and Wizard able to clean up Flux. And Niagara, although able to put up a pretty good fight on that A defense, unfortunately not able to close that out, meaning that Siena is able to take their 5th round. And we're going to see how Niagara chooses to come into the 7th round, again with Broff being more economically advantaged from his performances over the last couple of rounds on that single M4 with a couple deagles across the board as well. Siena being really aggressive towards that B site again, kind of bringing it back, is able to find and take down that one M4. Kenobi not able to notice that there's someone around him, ultimately goes down to Wizard. losing that pistol round. So while they were able to take down OCU, that ultimately is not going to make a huge difference as we think about the economic situation of Siena, which if you're in that safe situation, obviously you want to try to win that round. But if you aren't going to find success in that, when you figure that out, you want to just, do as much damage as you can. So not really how they were hoping that round would go, I'm sure. But going into round 8, the terrorist side is in an excellent position as it looks, if we look across their economy, able to buy back if there's any situation with 10K on Chewy Milk there. Niagara, however, able to buy back into the rifles, and Broth now with the roll up is going to see if he makes any damage, but Pango able to take down 2, both Flux and Kenobi off the B site, which means just Broth left to able to defend from Toxic. Immediately goes down to Loki, one of the players whose names that we've talked about pretty frequently over the last couple of weeks, as we've talked about the impact players. Loki, again with that aggressive, just rushes into that graffiti area, not giving Niagara any space to move up and try to make anything happen on their side. So now Fechner, the lone survivor on the Niagara side, is trying to figure out how do we do whatever damage while trying to survive and keep this rifle going into the following round. So this has definitely been an opportunity for Siena to just continue to dictate the pace, not give Niagara the opportunity to take a breath and figure out what they want to do to adjust. Notably, the defense from Niagara on the A site has been relatively strong. They've had the opportunity. Fechner just missing. Is he going to go for the repick? Unfortunately, goes down to Loki, who's just absolutely bloodthirsty and gets, I think, about 4K on that round, which means that there, unfortunately, are not going to be any rifles, it looks like, on the side of Niagara, although they are buying up into pistol armor. So maybe we'll see some attempts and some signs of life as they try to figure out, again, how are they going to bring this back on the T side, because every round that they can win back is certainly going to make a slightly easier half for them as they think about what happens next. So the normal situation on pistols for someone that's trying something a little bit more interesting is Niagara is going to push all the way through T-spawn. They're going to not catch anybody out there. They're immediately going to drop down. They see OCU on the op, and there's enough of them there that if they can just hold it down, OCU almost gets a double kill, but now is under threat from all the players and goes down to Fechner. So that's an op down on the side of Siena, now in the hands of Niagara. So if nothing else, that's a pretty good takeaway for Niagara to try to get something as they think about their next round. With the bomb already down, Siena looks pretty comfortable in their ability to hold on to this. Pango ultimately goes down to Kenobi, which means that there's another rifle in the favor of Niagara. So a situation that didn't look so great as we were thinking about some of those early contact moments in connector ends up being a pretty big win for the side of Niagara. Now with an op and an AK means that their whole team is going to be able to buy up into this next round, and we're going to see what they can do in terms of their collective defense. So looking at the round score here right now, Siena currently with a commanding 8-1 lead on the terrorist side, which means that they're already in a very comfortable position as they think about, how are they going to close out the second half. But we've still got plenty of rounds left in this part of the match. Fechner, unfortunately, missing his first shots. Wizard and Chewy Milk immediately getting a double K off of the 3 players at that site. Kenobi able to take down Loki and is looking for another, but not going to see anybody creeping up. No pixels peeking out there. Maybe that'll change as all 4 of the Siena players are playing from the site or that low sandbags area. Ferber peeking out, unfortunately, is met by 2 people, and the kill ultimately goes to Wizard. So it's now just down to Flux, who's able to get that double kill and still has an opportunity. I mean, there's seen crazier things, but it looks like he's going to make the choice to fall back and try to live for the next round. This is not the way that Niagara was hoping round 10 was going to go for them, but they are able to at least get away with an M4. But unfortunately, just because of how expensive it is to be a CT, it means that they're in this consistent strain of position where, because they haven't been able to string rounds together, they've been consistently losing 3 or 4 or all 5 of their players going into these rounds. They haven't been able to build up a lot of bank that's going to give them the confidence in terms of their hardware to play through this. So as we look into this round, we do see a wide variety of rifles, but Broth unfortunately only able to pick up a FAMAS, and the grenades on the side of Niagara are not great. Fechner able to get the first kill, isn't looking for the second yet, retreats back into water to look and try to set up for a second kill. But that op pick has slowed down the Siena aggression, which is great news for Niagara because they'll be able to figure something out. Unfortunately, OCU and Loki able to take down 3. Kenobi takes down 1, Swordbird another. They're trading back and forth kills, and all that's left now is Chewy Milk versus Swordbird. Swordbird again doing so much work, as you can see, 10 kills overall. Now he's sitting on the bomb. He's expecting them to come from connector. It gets the impression that maybe somebody is going to be coming from the A site, and that of course would be correct. So he's going to try to push towards long and see if he can find a little bit of information and figure out where these two players are. This point in the map is probably the most dangerous and most tense if you are on either side, because when you're 1v1 and you've got so much time and space in between each other, you have no idea where anybody's going to be coming from. So Swordbird cheating towards that long place is going to take his eyes off the bomb, which means we're not going to see that battle over the initial place. But it does mean that Chewy's going to have to put a lot of effort and a lot of resources into just picking up the bomb because of how much he doesn't know. Swordbird running back towards the bank, maybe doesn't know. Are they going to hear each other? Swordbird hears the plant. He's moving back up towards that dumpster area, but it was a fake from Chewy. So he's going to play default, excuse me. So Swordbird, aware of his position, is going to try to wait for some sort of peek, try to come out. He now knows where Chewy is, and he's going to look for just a couple of those pixels, and he sees him, able to take him down, and that's going to be the second round over to Niagara. A huge effort by Swordbird to make sure that he doesn't let his team down. That's going to be his 11th kill of the half, and the second round victory for Niagara. So that is a huge win and an opportunity for them to start clawing back. Right now, with 9 wins on Siena, that means that Niagara can win potentially 4 more rounds on this side of the map before we switch halves and switch sides. So that's definitely where they want to push. Unfortunately, because of the economic situation that they were in before, that win doesn't give quite enough cash to put Niagara in the position that they want to be in terms of nades and equipment. So you can already see that there are 2 FAMASs there, as well as those 2 M4s. So, you know, a little bit of effort. Unfortunately, that was a miss from OCU, which means that Niagara is going to come away with most of their health still, and a little bit of information that someone is on the Fountain side. Siena playing a little bit more of a spread out default this time around instead of their normal kind of collective aggression. It's going to be a trade from Pengo to Flux, and Swordbird able to take down Loki at long. Fechner taking down Wizard as he tries to push up from connector. Chewy's going to come up and try to replace him and get some of that refrag, but because of the lag time there isn't going to be much action. So he's looking for that grenade. Misclick, unfortunately, doesn't do much damage on the nade side of it. Able to just swing out, peek, take down Fechner, and that means that we're back to a 3-2 in favor of Niagara. Siena has made the choice that they want to push towards long, but there are 2 members of the Niagara team on site and ready to go. Make that one as OCU takes down Swordbird, and suddenly this becomes a little scarier for the side of Niagara. And I apologize, I misspoke. They were actually underneath the A site moving up. So now Broth, looking from the bank position, is now going to see if he can figure out where he is.
Going to be super important here for Niagara to play slow. They've got the numbers advantage, or not the numbers advantage, they've tied things up, but they've got that health disadvantage, and that's the thing they've really got to be worried about. They're racing against the clock, the bomb has been planted, and Siena, they're definitely not a team to overextend. However, Chewy goes down early, OCU also going to fall, and Niagara are going to be able to pick up that 3rd round win.
That is wonderful news for Niagara. They are on their way to get their 4th round, which is something that has been a challenge for them according to, across the season. I think the most rounds that they've won on a single map going into this week was 8. So this is certainly their opportunity to kind of bring that back. And if they can win even 2 out of the next couple of rounds, go into the half 10-5, or even honestly 11-4 is not the worst situation, but any round at this point definitely makes the difference. So the pace of this and how well this B site holds is going to be absolutely critical.
And critical feels like such a great word there, honestly. It's going to be all about this momentum, these possibilities that can make an appearance when we need them to most. However, things falling just, a little heavily sided in favor of Siena. Niagara, though, they found a couple. They found that momentum in CSGO, an insanely momentum-based game. However, General Ken going down early is certainly going to hurt Niagara. Any attempt they made, immediately going to find another kill. That's a double kill for Loki already. I mean, things are looking rough for Niagara. However, Siena, they've taken a bit of damage. Niagara, if they play it right, if they play a little bit slower, they might be able to find a couple of exit frags.
And unfortunately, Niagara just kind of fallen apart on their defense on the B site. For some reason, instead of their normal positions, which is mostly playing from the water and toxic area, decided to put 2 back towards the graffiti side, which unfortunately just didn't give them the opportunity to support their 1 player on site, which means that unfortunately this ends up as just kind of a wash for Niagara, and they're gonna at least make sure that this half ends up 10-5 on the side of Siena.
10-5, yeah, that's going to be a decent place to be, right? Maybe Siena's able to turn something around, or excuse me, maybe Niagara is able to turn something around here, but Siena, they've certainly got the round win advantage, and that can make, obviously, the winning difference at the end of the day. This is a numbers game when it comes down to it, so Siena, every round they put away, even if they ended up by some miracle losing this map, 16-10, right? It would still be super important. They found every single round they found along the way.
Absolutely, and the economy definitely in favor of Siena by far. I mean, Loki, even after that buy, still has 10K, where Niagara is just trying to piece together some of their SMGs, and they're just kind of getting some of this timing just a little off in terms of when they're putting up some of those counter nades, and that's giving some free kills to the side of Siena as they're able to just kind of peek right. But Swordbird able to take out Wizard in that trade. Oh, no, the nade.
OCU immediately.
Man.
It looks so good for Niagara every time, and then OCU just starts clicking, and that just makes all the difference at the end of the day. Honestly, it has been a very impactful game from OCU. Currently 3rd most elims in lobby, which is surprising. Swordbird #1 is going to fall pretty early on there, but it's going to be Siena. The bomb has been planted. However, it simply does not matter. I've got to say, Siena, they definitely are a whole W type of team where their #1 priority is get that bomb down. They're not even looking for kills until that bomb is planted.
Yeah, across the last 14 rounds, I think we've had maybe 2 where they played a more, cautious default setup. And ultimately, that was one of the rounds that they lost. So I think that they've kind of figured out that if they just, rush on a site, if they are able to overwhelm Niagara, they're going so much faster that it seems like Niagara just isn't quite anticipating the timing, as I mentioned. So they're just missing some of those nades that are making it easier. And Chewy running out on a site, just able to take down 1 in OCU on the second. So this is already looking pretty bleak for Niagara.
Yeah, definitely looking bleak for Niagara here as Siena comes through, and Pango and OCU putting 2 more down. It is up to Swordbird, tied for most elims in lobby, but to walk away with a 5v1 is beyond difficult.
It is. I think that this is, we've in a lot of situations, in a lot of these matches, especially when they're this one-sided, we can talk about how there's been some bright spots. I mean, on the side of Niagara, they have had quite a few situations where they get into the last maybe 2v2s or otherwise, and they have a pretty good shot at winning the round. But unfortunately, like you mentioned with OCU just 2 rounds ago, it just takes one moment for there to be a huge swing on momentum, and all of a sudden the game goes the entire opposite direction. So Niagara looking here on the T side and maybe taking a page out of Siena's book and just hold W through connector. A lot of teams rushing up those stairs.
A lot of teams rushing indeed, and it looks like OCU is going to be the first one to find that out. And they took a decent amount of damage along the way. Niagara found a kill, but it's already been traded out, and now things are really going down the drain. Pango able to find 2 eliminations there. They will fall, but all of a sudden, it starts off super strong for Niagara, and now they're fighting for their lives once again. Chewy Milk will be able to pick up General Ken, and Wizard puts down that final player. Siena finding themselves 13-3.
And I think as I'm noticing, some of these one-on-one battles that we're running into, Niagara occasionally will have the advantage in terms of the swing or the divide. Unfortunately, it just seems like there's a little bit of nerves, coming into some of these positions where
Sure.
Both teams, they both said that a lot of their team are pretty new, especially playing as a team. So there's a little bit of that nerve, as you can see in some of the counter strafing being not quite as tight as they'd like it to be, or a lot of these clicking. So now they're going to try to run out, and Loki already down to 7 health, actually being the Niagara's in a pretty good spot.
No way! Loki finds 2 frags before going down. They were so unbelievably close to finding that elimination, but they got traded out, 3 for 1, 2 for 1 in favor of Siena there, so that really did hurt Niagara. Had they been able to land 1 more bullet, they could have had that numbers advantage moving into sight.
And that's not the direction that Niagara is hoping the momentum goes. Now with Siena on 14 rounds to 3, that means we are 2 rounds away from a convincing map 1 victory for Siena. And as you said, every round counts as you're thinking about the wins, but it also matters in terms of this standing. So Niagara really wants to try to make up some of that. We saw in one of the early matches that Niagara was down 152 rounds in total. So it's a big mountain to climb in terms of where they're at in the standings, but every round they are able to get back, that definitely matters. And Niagara's doing a great job so far to make that happen. But Loki, one of the most dangerous players on the server right now, is not going to make it easy for Niagara.
Yeah, Loki not making it easy in the slightest. I mean, it has been a slaughter from Loki so far. 23 HP, though. 3v2-ish. Chewy, though, falls. Loki, 23 HP. We talked about how important these round wins are. Can Niagara find another one? That would be huge here. I think Loki might be caught out in a bit of a pickle. Yeah, will fall. Every entrance and exit there was blocked out by Niagara. They find their 4th point, and every single one is wildly important. So to see them put another one away helps them defeat that beast.
And it's also super important on the confidence side, right? You know, it's certainly demoralizing when you end up, you know, especially in those close situations where round after round, it's just not quite going your way. But Niagara able to build up some of these sparks and really, you know, show that they're not out of this yet, even though they certainly have a very, very slim margin of error to make any mistakes. And so at this point, you know, with only Chewy and Pango on rifles and OCU on the scout, they certainly have the opportunity to take another one away from them and make that just a slightly narrower gap.
Yeah, and that slightly narrower gap can make all the difference. I feel like we've said that a couple of times already, but it's unbelievably important to kind of focus on Niagara. They can find their momentum. They can begin to get the economy advantage. They can begin to get the player advantage, which they have once again. Low-key, that power player has fallen. And as I say it, things get changed out as Pango turns the corner, finds 2 eliminations. 2 will turn to 3, and Swordbird picks up Wizark, but now it is Swordbird versus the world. Able to find another one. Only 2 more to go. 49 HP between the 2 of them. I don't know. Swordbird's at 10 HP. If they can find this one, though, that would be pretty huge. There it is. Only 1 more.
And suddenly what seemed very scary is not quite as scary, because as long as their Swordbird kind of feels out the fact that Pango is probably looking at that heaven area where he's already dropped down into, or dropped a smoke into, there's only a 3 health difference between the 2. So that nade that Pango has is very menacing, because he's going to maybe save it for that site. And is he going to use it? No, he's holding. Looking for the spam. Comes out. Oh my god, Swordbird.
Oh my god, Swordbird with the 4K? I believe it was either 3 or 4, but Swordbird with the something HP clutch. Really a great performance there, giving Niagara another point. We talked about it. Momentum, momentum, momentum. And Swordbird is single-handedly trying to make sure that Niagara has some momentum moving into the latter half of this game. Getting these rounds is insane. If they can, you know, every single round they can stack on top of the last is going to be huge for that round differential at the end of the season.
Absolutely, and I'm so proud of them being able to take away from that. But unfortunately, OCU with a P90, man, that gun is annoying as hell to have to deal with if you're not expecting it. So that's going to give an early kill over to the side of Siena and a gun.
Oh, man. And the P90, a very deceivingly effective weapon. I feel like a lot of people look down on it, but like you said, if you're not ready for it, that thing will mow you down in a heartbeat. General Cat using a different weapon here, but still getting some mowdowns. Chewy Milk falls. Gonna be great for Niagara. They're almost able to tie things up. 1 elimination short. OCU, sub half HP. Pango's got a full-blown rifle on the side of the corner here. I love the patience here. Might be able to do something with it, but gotta be careful. Gotta watch your flank as well. Looks like Siena is pretty split for the time being, and that's gonna hurt. Swordboard takes out OCU. Things tied up 3-3 once again. There goes Pango. It's gonna be Loki and Wizark against the 3 players remaining on the side of Niagara. They've got to find these eliminations. Siena, they can make this their possibly second to last round, but Niagara, they are looking good in the numbers, and they're really looking good these last couple of rounds.
Oh, this is such a smart move going through connector, moving into B, because otherwise they were going to have a really potentially dangerous flank from Wizark, and it might be that Swordbird doesn't... Oh, just missing the timing. Whew, that is a huge break for Niagara if he's able to get to site before Wizark climbs down those stairs, and he's going back. Does he expect it?
Wizark's going for the flank here. Check your corners, Wiz, and Wiz is going to do that. Swordbird falls. Now a 2v2, the health advantage in favor of Siena, but the bomb has been planted. Siena can't hold their hands in their pockets for much longer. They've got to find a quick engagement. Oh, but Peridian goes down as well. Oh, man. That is going to be General Ken falling, and Siena, they have done it. That first kill onto Swordbird really did feel like the beginning of the end there. 1 round remains for Siena.
And that was really just one of those critical moments that we talked about before. You know, if that goes the other direction and Swordbird kind of feels out that someone's coming from connector and is able to get that kill, that's a 3v1 on the site. That's, you know, not impossible, but certainly a lot more difficult to take on.
Right.
So unfortunately for Niagara, that moment just, you know, goes the wrong direction. So they still have a chance here. They're unfortunately in a position where there's just a lot of MAC 10s, which means there's got to be a pretty fast execute and a lot of, you know, hold W and hold your left click down. So they're going to see how it is. Surprisingly, there's still 2 players heading towards the playground, which means that they're probably going to lose one to Pango, who doesn't even know there's another one.
Pango.
So dangerous.
Pango is insanely dangerous. My favorite EGF Steve player for Smash Ultimate, and currently building his way to one of my favorite CSGO players. He literally just holds W and clicks and gets 2 or 3 kills every time. He just got a 3-for-1 trade in favor of Siena in a round that if they win, they take the map.
And that leaves only Swordbird on the side of Niagara, which based on his previous performance is absolutely the one that you want in this situation, but you also hope that you never get here in the first place. So Swordbird, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, is the difference between whether Niagara is packing up and pretending or preparing for the second map, or if they'll have one more opportunity to continue their path towards overtime. Whether he's able to do that is a question, and with only 40 seconds left on the clock, there's going to be increasing pressure to make sure he doesn't get that.
There's another one, though.
2 out of 4 isn't bad.
You only need 2 more. We saw Swordbird do this once already. Like, I wouldn't be that shocked to see it happen again, honestly. 22 eliminations, I believe tied for most in lobby. Yeah, tied with Pango there for the most in lobby, but oh... See OCU hiding that patient long game, misses the first shot, gives away the location as well. Swordbird has to hit the next one. Will he find it? He will! Swordbird versus Wizark. Will Siena win this right here, right now, or is Swordbird going to carry the team on their shoulders once again? I don't think he knows. Oh, he saw. Swordbird knows that somebody's in the corner, dodges the flash, has to hit this first shot, and they're going to cost the ground. Oh, Wizark puts it away. Gonna find the bomb to defuse, and Swordbird literally could not have done more there. So unbelievably close to winning that round.
If I'm Niagara, I am buying Swordbird all of the Christmas presents or Hanukkah presents or holiday presents at this point, just for that effort alone. Because, man, 23 kills on the server is going to put him at the top of the list across all players on both teams. A hugely impressive effort from a team that we've talked about has struggled, but they're able to come away with that with, you know, a respectable effort. And again, while they're not finding that success in terms of the number of rounds